What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. The international break is finally over. We had 3 weeks of football, and then it was, of course, time to take a break because 3 weeks is too much for anyone, said literally no Premier League fan ever. But thankfully, the international break is over, and we return to our regularly scheduled Premier League programming, and it is your match preview for Liverpool versus Nottingham Forest, match day 4 of 38, and it is a 3 p.m. kickoff at Anfield. So, of course, as is customary for the Premier League, that means if you're in England and you don't have a ticket to the game, you ain't watching it, because good old 3 p.m. blackout. So even though we as fans are not actually allowed to watch the game, let's talk about what I expect to see in the game. As always, we'll start with a bit of a head-to-head look at Liverpool versus Forest in the past. Now this one, as you might suspect if you've been watching Liverpool in recent years, is fairly Liverpool dominant, with Liverpool being unbeaten in their last 25 home games against Nottingham Forest. That includes 20 wins and 5 draws, 0 losses, having won the last 6 games at Anfield against Forest in a row. In fact, the last defeat consequently was in 1969, and it was a 2-0 loss under Bill Shankly. So it's been a long time since Liverpool have lost to Forest at Anfield, and we're expecting that to continue. Liverpool remain undefeated under Arne Slot without conceding a single goal. I spoke about that last week as well. A clean sheet in this game, though, here's where it's pivotal. A clean sheet in this game would put Arne Slot alone as the only manager in the Premier League history to keep a clean sheet in his first 4 games in charge. So that's pretty big, right? A clean sheet in this game matters because we want Arne Slot to take as many records as possible, and we can start that in this game this weekend by keeping a clean sheet. Forest, however, to be fair to them, are in really good form. They're also unbeaten in their last 4 Premier League games with 2 wins and 2 draws, and it is their best form under Nuno thus far. So they're not going to be a pushover, but it is a game that we're expected to win. Now, speaking of like not going to be a pushover, I think what we can expect from this game, or at least this is what I hope to see in this game, is not a defensive performance from Forest, but actually quite a front foot attacking performance. Forest have registered the most direct attacks so far this season of any team in the Premier League, which if they keep to that form for Liverpool, and they might not, because some managers do come to Anfield and sort of make that decision to play a little bit more defensively because they know where they are and they know how things can go at Anfield sometimes. But I'm hoping that he stays and plays his football and we get quite an open game back and forth, and that will allow Liverpool to play some really creative football, and you know, hopefully we'll see the best of Liverpool with an open game of football. Perhaps the biggest fear for Nottingham Forest, though, is Diogo Jota, who has 6 goals in his last 5 appearances against Forest, which kind of makes Forest the Norwich to his Suarez, if you ever remember how brutal Suarez was with Norwich. It seems like we've got a little bit of that story developing with Jota and Nottingham Forest. Speaking of Diogo Jota, though, that's the perfect segue to bring us on to what would be my team selection for this game. So let's dive into that. Starting as always with the goalkeeper, no surprises here. It's obviously Alisson Becker. Interestingly, Kevin Kelleher's comments over the international break on his position at Liverpool and the fact that he wants to play number 1 football somewhere. It seems like the club have moved in a different direction. I feel a little bit sorry for him, I'm going to be honest. I think the purchase of Mamardashvili means that we will never see Kevin Kelleher as number 1, because he will be the number 1 after Alisson Becker goes, Mamardashvili that is. So I think there is no place for Kevin Kelleher, and he's right in his assessment of that. I've seen some people criticise him for coming out and saying it or being so blunt about it, but it's just the truth and he can see it. And yeah, I feel a little bit sorry for him, but ultimately, as Arne Slot said in his press conference today, it's clear right now that Alisson Becker is number 1 at the club, and that's not going to change. Alisson Becker, of course, starts this game. The back line I'm going to do all together because I don't see any reason why this is going to change. Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate as the 2 centre-backs. I think we could see Jarell Quansah maybe just to give one of them a rest, but I don't particularly see a reason why that would happen right now. And interestingly, Arne Slot spoke about in his press conference today about his time at Feyenoord. He used to play the same 11 players in every single game, and ultimately that's what he'd like to do because he expects every player that he plays to want to play every game, and if they prove to him that they can, then they will. He did reference the fact that this is a different league, the intensity is higher and things might have to change in that department, but I think what that says to me is that whilst these players are in form, and you know, this might change when the midweek game comes in, of course, I think it probably will change, but right now that's not the case. We'll review that on Wednesday, but like right now it's not the case, so I don't see any reason why he changed this back line. And Virgil and Konate is our strongest centre-back pairing, and then of course there's zero reason to drop Trent outside of perhaps the fact that he's played so many minutes of international football. But I think what we're actually more likely to see is that Trent just doesn't play the full 90 minutes, as has been customary so far under Arne Slot. I think he will be taken off later in the game. And then of course we've got Andrew Robertson there, left back. Again, seen no reason why we would change that. Moving into the midfield for the holding positions, double pivot. Obviously Ryan Gravenberch, who is like a man reborn under Arne Slot, been absolutely fantastic. There was a lot of apprehension about him. I think after the United game, he's proven to a lot of people that he's capable of doing it, even in the bigger moments. So again, no reason to change him. He also, by the way, had a fantastic international break, was running games for the Netherlands. So it's so impressive how players can change under different managers. You know, the guy could barely really get a game. To me, it felt like Jurgen Klopp didn't really have a plan for Ryan Gravenberch, and it's clear that Arne Slot does. And what a player he's sort of shown that he can be. I think more than perhaps we realised as fans what we had there in Ryan Gravenberch. It's quite a special thing to see how much he's developed under Arne Slot. And then Alexis McAllister, there was some rumours of an injury, but Arne Slot's put that to bed today in his press conference and said that he's completely fit. He's been training with the team and he expects him to be available. So that doesn't necessarily mean he'll start, but I think he will. I don't see why he wouldn't, to be honest, if he's fit. And then in the attacking midfield, I'm going Dominic Szoboszlai. Of course, we've got the injury to Harvey Elliott, so there's no chance of him. Curtis Jones, I think we'll probably see him get some time in the cup game, but again, no reason to drop Szoboszlai, who I think has been fantastic for Liverpool so far this season, and hopefully continues to do so. But yeah, no reason to change him, so he's going to start this game for me. Could it get a little more interesting in the advanced positions? Well, for the wingers, Mohamed Salah has to start. I don't think we're going to see a Chiesa start for... Well, do you know what? We might see Chiesa start in the cup, but if we're being honest, Salah will want to start every game. So yeah, it's going to be tough. What I'd like to see in this game is Chiesa get a little bit of time though. Give him like 10 minutes at the end or something. It'll be so exciting, and it's of course at home. So in front of the Anfield crowd, to get his sort of debut there coming off the bench, I think that'd be cool. So I'd like to see that in this game. Luis Diaz been on fire in the international break and been on fire for Liverpool so far since the start of this season, so fair play to him, because I think he was under a little bit of a microscope after his performances last season, certainly in my opinion anyway, but been brilliant so far this season and no reason to drop him. I think this final position is maybe a bit of a controversial one. So I've gone Darwin Núñez, and that's why I think it's controversial, but hear me out. This is not necessarily what I think Arne Slot will do. I expect to see Diogo Jota start this game, and especially when we've just discussed Diogo Jota's stats against Forest, 6 goals in his last 5 meetings. It makes sense to start Jota, I understand that, but hear me out here. Darwin Núñez hasn't had a start yet this season. Now, he could start midweek, which I get, but I think he deserves to get a game with the first team. Like, if we're expecting rotation midweek, we're expecting the likes of Endo to come in, the likes of maybe a Conor Bradley, Kostas Tsimikas, Cody Gakpo, Darwin Núñez. There'd be a lot of changes, Curtis Jones even perhaps. So there's going to be a lot of changes, and I don't think it's fair to him. Let's not forget he was our 2nd highest scorer last season. I don't think it's fair for him to suddenly become a bit part player. Now, I understand that he never had the time pre-season and stuff that other players had, and that's ultimately why Diogo Jota came into the season flying. But I think Darwin Núñez deserves to have some time. He hasn't even been getting enough off the bench for me. And now, this isn't me saying that's it now, put Diogo Jota away for the next 5 weeks at all. Clearly, Diogo Jota's in form. He's been playing absolutely fantastically. But the reason why I've done this today is Diogo Jota's played throughout the international break. Darwin Núñez hasn't played a single minute because of his ban. He wasn't allowed to play in the international break. And so I just think he needs to get some significant time. The guy will have been just doing training drills throughout the international break while everyone else is off enjoying international football. I just think, in fairness to him, he deserves some time. And I also feel like, why wait for an injury in regards to Diogo Jota? Why wait for him to get injured to rotate the squad? We've got a great squad. Let's rotate players while we've got them, keep everyone fit, and keep us in the best possible position to really mount a challenge in this Premier League title race that we could find ourselves in over the course of the next few weeks if we pick up 3 points in these next few games. So I do think it's important to keep everyone fit. I think Darwin Núñez deserves a chance to start a Premier League game. And it's Nottingham Forest and Anfield, which I feel like is the perfect kind of game for it, because you're expecting a win here anyway. It's with the home crowd that always back Darwin Núñez, and so, you know, it could be great for his confidence and whatever else. And as I said, ultimately, I just think with him having no time in the international break, he deserves something more than 10 minutes off the bench or whatever. The likelihood is Diogo Jota starts this and Darwin Núñez starts the cup game, but let's see. This is what I would pick, and I think I would go with Darwin Núñez for this one. But that's my team selection. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, whether you'd make any changes there, and probably, I mean, the big one will be whether you'd start Darwin Núñez or Diogo Jota. So I understand if people would go with Diogo Jota, but let me know in the comments how you feel about that one. Let's get on to the score prediction before we wrap things up. So as always, we've got the Opta stats down at the bottom there. There's Liverpool 79%, draw at 13%, and a Nottingham Forest win at 8%. Interestingly, these are almost identical to the stats against Brentford at home. I think there's 1% difference. It was Liverpool 78% there. It's obviously 79% this time. So based on that, I mean, it just depends how much weight you put into something like Opta stats, but we're expecting a similar result. I'm going to go Liverpool 3, Nottingham Forest 0 though, and I think that's the same whether it's Diogo Jota or Darwin Núñez that starts. So obviously, Jota's been prolific against Forest in the past, but Luis Diaz and Mohamed Salah are both in fine form so far this season, and the defence have been, I mean, I think it's so important to keep a clean sheet in this one, because I'd love Arne Slot to get that record of the only manager with the first 4 games being clean sheet. So I want a clean sheet regardless, so I'm not going with the Forest goal. And then I just think with everyone in form, and whether it's Jota or Darwin, I back him to get a goal. So I'm going to go Liverpool 3, Nottingham Forest 0. Let me know if you agree with me down in the comments below. Get your score predictions down in the comments. And as always, guys, if you do enjoy the content, give us a like. It's free and it massively helps us out. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And we will see you guys in the next video. Peace.